still listening to the car rattle away down the road. Then, as if quite unaware that she had no tools, she began scurrying back and forth under the crate. She rapped and poked at the slates. She grasped her comb raw as she tried again and again to twist and screw her head through the narrow spaces between the slates. From the barnyard came the busy, excited sound of the flock, and the little hen suddenly caught sight of the steady procession of the chickens going up and down the ramp, in and out of the high chicken coop, tasting and testing the new freedom. For a moment, the little hen stood still. Then she began, still more desperately scurrying back and forth. If it didn't bring her freedom, the meaningless, unhappy rushing under the crate was giving the little hen practice. She raced back and forth as if she'd run on nickel bones all her life. She hardly stumbled. A butterfly settled on top of the potato crate. The little hen stopped, aimed a greedy eye, jumped for the butterfly. She crashed against the top slate of the crate. The slate was loose. It yielded. It loose and poked up of the crate from the crate. The little hen limped up again, hooked her bill over the top edge of the crate, hanging by her bill. She flayed her wings against the slate, forced it up still more. She fell back, exhausted, but when she saw the opening above her, she immediately jumped up and tumbled over the edge of the crate. The little hen was free, and there was the butterfly still floating over the yard. The little hen immediately gave chase. The butterfly fluttered down the barnyard with the little hen joyously pounding after it. The queer giant, her shortened, toeless legs had given her. She seemed to roll over the ground on her little round nickel bones. At the edge of the barnyard, 7 white hens joined the little hen, pelted from after the butterfly. The rooster came running. He immediately had to make the chase important by calling all the flock. Hens came racing from everywhere. Now the whole flock streamed after the little hen, changed directions with her whenever the butterfly shifted in its aimless flight. The big rooster pounded along in the midst of the hens. Suddenly a breeze wafted the butterfly up and over the roof of the big hay barn that rose across the barnyard from the horse barn with hen house. All at once the quarry was gone. The chase stopped dead in the middle of the barnyard. The flock stood foolishly looking at each other, but the rooster suddenly became enraged with little hen who had led them on this foolish chase. In the 2 strides he was at her. He rapped her head with the slashing hammer, blows from his hard bill. The blows stuck the little hen's comb, rasped raw from rubbing against the slates of the potato crate. Her temper fled. She limped up at the rooster, tried to rake and slash his chest. Her round nickel bones didn't slash, but one of the white hens noticed her strange toeless feet. Then the hen darted under the rooster's chest, pecked a curious, investigating peck at one of the little hen's nickel bones. With a peck that had been a foolish springtime chasing of a butterfly turned into something ugly. Other hens darted in. They struck the little hen down. In a moment they lay kicking and sprawling, but each hen still got in a blow and a peck. Desperately the little hen righted herself. In a sheer strength of terror, she screamed and forced a path through the surrounding flock. The ugly, senseless blows still hammered down on her. At last she squeezed from under the pack and free from the flock, ran for her life across the empty barnyard. For the moment, the flock did not follow. For the moment, there was only one small sound of the little hen's knucklebone on the hard, packed ground. The flock stood absolutely still, watching the queer run of the little red hen. Eyes gleamed dark, excited eyes flickered. The queer wren they were watching, enraged and offered the flock. They came on. They overtook the little hen, surrounded her. Suddenly, there was no more flight and no more fight in the little red hen. They flattened herself in their midst, bowed her head, her neck, resigned herself to the end. Wheezing hard, the big rooster now stepped in, angrily made a clearing for himself in the midst of the pack flock. Changing throatily, dragging and scraping one wing on the ground, he made a circle path for himself around the little hen. The flock had to wait for him. Their eyes flickered wildly from the struttering rooster to the cowering little hen. But they stood back as once more the rooster chunked himself in an impotent circle around the little hen. At last he stepped before the little hen, stood over her. The flock came crowding in. The moment for the kill had come. The rooster's circling and important fussing had given the little hen a bit of a breath, a mite of rest. At last rebellion flicked up in her. She fluttered up, tried to beat herself up into the air above the rooster and the crowding flock, fly over them. She couldn't. The little hen had been knocked down into the barnyard dirt so often. Her feathers and wings were full of sand. As she tried to flutter up her wings, beating her wings threw dirt on the rooster's face, blinded him, baffled him, mad from the stinging sand in his eyes. Eyes shut tight against the pane, the rooster struck out wildly in all directions. The flock scattered. The hens scuttled out of his reach. In confusion, the little hen ran across the barnyard as hard as she could run. The opening of the wide doorway to the basement of the big hay barn loomed dark before her. With all the strength left in her breathed little body, they ran into the barn, hid in a back corner of the dark, shadowy barn. The rooster left her all alone. The rooster left all alone in the middle of the barnyard, shook and shook his head in clear and stinging eyes. His eyes cleared just in time for him to see the little hen scampering through the doorway into the basement of the barn. There went his enemy who had humiliated him before the whole flock. Forgetting the pain in his eyes, the rooster took after her. He called and commanded his flock to come. All the hens came. They streamed after him through the wide doorway.